another edition of the Sewing Guru. Now in this particular collection I'm going to show you how to create the gents jacket with a shawl collar. So what a shawl collar is, as you can see, is one complete piece, and it's literally the collar and lapel in one. Now as you can see on my jacket, this here is a notch collar, and it's got a kind of a V, and you can clearly see where the collar and the lapel get attached together. But a shawl collar is, like I say, one complete piece. So it's like an entire lapel right round the whole thing. Now you will usually see this sort of thing on a dinner jacket. That's the most common that you would see them on, and of course the lapel would be a different fabric. It's usually like a shiny satin or something like that, which would give a complete contrast. And of course that gives a kind of dinner suit, tuxedo feel and look to it. Now of course you can also have a shawl collar on a standard tailored jacket as well, and that looks just as good. But of course with a shawl collar on a tuxedo or a dinner suit, it really does look like a special garment. Okay, especially with the contrast of the satin lapel on the front. So what I'm going to cover in this particular video is of course the equipment and the fabrics that you are going to need to make your tailored jacket. Now of course, if you're going to be making the jacket for a lady, okay, you can then incorporate how I create this shawl collar, but then of course incorporate it with the ladies' tailor's jacket, which of course is a collection within the website as well. So what you can do is just combine the two together, and you would then also be able to create your shawl collar in that particular manner. So like I said, the first thing what I'm going to do is show you the equipment that you are going to need to create your tailored jacket. So as you can see, I've got all of my fabrics and equipment laid out of what I'm going to need to create my jacket. So the first thing is we're going to cover the fabrics. Very important. It's really the body of the actual jacket itself, so very, very important of course. Always start with the fabric that you really like that's going to be creating your jacket. Now I'm going for a light cotton and wool mix fabric, okay? It's a medium weight, and I've chosen a very, very light fabric because then it's easy for you to see what I'm doing when I'm stitching and putting all the various panels and parts together. Okay, so I've got my main body fabric, okay? Now I've got my lining, which is a viscose lining, and of course that contrasts very well with the fabric that I'm going to be using. Now of course there is other linings. I mean, you can have a satin lining or you can use a cotton lining, okay? I think the satin lining is probably the best because it really gives a nice body to it. But of course your standard viscose lining is great as well, okay? It does just exactly the same job, apart from one is slightly better quality than the other. Now of course I've got my calico, or you can use a curtain lining, and of course I've got that because we're going to be creating a toile or a first proof after we've measured the body of the person, or yourself of course, that you're making the jacket for, okay? So it's always best to make a first proof, so we will be covering that as well. So I've got my curtain lining here, or calico, and I've got that right there, okay? Now I've got enough fabric for my calico, of course, to be able to create the main body of the jacket to get the fitting just right. Okay, so you need about 2 meters. If it's 60 inches wide, get about 2 meters of this, because of course you're going to be cutting pieces off, putting pieces back on, just to adjust it all, and then that makes that ready for the pattern construction as well, okay? So you need your calico for your first proof or toile. Now, we then come to the fusings and the canvases, okay? Now, I've got a medium weight fusing, okay? Now, it got a glue on one side, which is bobbly, okay, and of course with the press it's going to melt onto the fabric and it's going to just stick onto the fabric when it dries, okay, and it's going to secure the whole thing, and it just fuses onto the main fabric, okay. Now of course there is all these different fusings. There's ones that you can stitch into all of the panels, but to be honest with you, that is a little bit old-fashioned now. They are really old-fashioned traditional tailoring techniques, and of course they don't really do that in the industry anymore. And of course I'm showing you how this is done from the industry, but of course watered down to the home sewer.